Okay, so even though this is new content, um, it's just an extension of the trig that we did yesterday. Most kids find the trig in grade 11 actually a little easier than the trig from grade 10. Mainly because the trig in grade 10, you have to know opposite adjacent hypotenuse. You have to. There's no way around it. And also the button pushing changes depending on whether you're looking for an angle or whether you're looking for a side. The trig in grade 11 um, is actually a little bit easier. It's just drag and drop into the two formulas that you're given. So you don't even have to memorize the formulas. You just pick the formula and off you go. So I'm not going to give you two formulas. I'm only going to give you one. So there's absolutely no thinking involved regarding whether or not, like, which formula you should use. And that's really the tricky part in grade 11 is figuring out which formula to use when. Um, but we're just going to do one of them. Okay. So this is super simple. This will not take us very long at all. You should be able to pick this up no problem. And the final thing is, this is a concept in 20-1, 20-2, and 20-3. It's in all three courses. So you can't get away from trig in all of high school. Now, the trig in grade 12 does take a massive jump in difficulty. It gets substantially harder. But grade 11, most kids really enjoy it. So what happens is in grade 11, your triangles will not have a right angle. So if we remove the right angle, then now you cannot use Pythagoras and you cannot use SOHCAHTOA. So essentially you're screwed. Like you have no other tools in your tool belt. You can't do anything. So what we do is we give you two new formulas. One is called sine law. The other one is called cosine law. If you're wondering, is there a tan law? No, there is not. There's just a sine law and a cosine law. There's not a tan law. So here's the key to this. Depending on the information that you are given, that will determine which formula you use. Okay, so you're going to look to see what you get and you pick the formula accordingly. So all that we are going to do today is I'm just going to do sine law with you. That's it. I'm not even going to introduce cosine law to you. I'm just going to do sine law. Okay, and sine law is the easier of the two to work with as well. So here's the key to this. All triangles have three matching pairs. Okay, so I'll use symbols. So symbol number one, I'll use a happy face. So if this corner is a happy face, its matching side is the one across from it. That is one matching pair. Another matching pair, let's use a star. The one across from it is considered the match. Last symbol. What should I use as the last symbol? A heart. So if that symbol, if that corner is a heart, the one across from it is its matching pair. So what we have here is we have three matching pairs. Okay? So depending on what you're given, that will determine what formula you're going to use. So for sine law, you have to have one complete set. So in order to use this new rule I'm going to give you, you have to have one complete pairing. So you have to have both the happy face corner and the happy face side. You have to have one complete set. Cosine law, you don't have any complete sets. You only have halves. So in other words, you'll have the happy face corner, but you won't have the happy face side. Or you'll have the star side, but not the star corner. So cosine law is only halves, whereas sine law is full. Okay? So you have to have one complete set to use the sine law. So all the questions we're going to do today will have one complete set. Okay? Now, you know how when we were doing side length yesterday, and I reminded you guys that, hey, if you're looking for the hypotenuse, please remember, if you're looking for the hypotenuse, make sure you end up with the biggest number possible, right? Because it has to be the longest side. Well, with this, you have the same idea. So the bigger the corner, so if you have a big corner, it will match the biggest side. The smallest corner will match the smallest side. So if the happy face is the biggest angle, then the happy face side has to be the biggest side. If the heart is the smallest corner, then the heart has to be the smallest side. So for example, if you get, let's say the happy face is the biggest corner, but you get the happy face side to be the smallest, you've done something wrong, right? They have to match. Okay, so this is sine law. It looks dreadful. it looks absolutely dreadful. Now, here's the thing about it. We only use the first two. We never use the third. So what we have here is a proportion. How do you solve proportions? Cross multiply and divide, right? Now, the other thing is you can flip this thing upside down. So you could write it as A over sine A equals B over sine B. Now for me, I usually write it like this instead of like that. I like to put the sides on top, but whatever. So couple things. Oop, what happened there? Oh, there we go. So AA, BB, these match. So this is heart and heart, happy face and happy face. Okay? So you're going to find matching pairs. One of them will be a full match. The other one will be a half match. So one of them you'll have both, and the other one you'll only have half. Okay. Okay. So we're just going to dive in. Okay? It's not nearly as hard as what it looks, I promise. So take a look at this thing. It wants you to find side DF. So DF is right here, so I'm just going to call that X. That's what I'm looking for, side DF. Okay, first thing I want you to do is find your full set. Where's your full pair? What are the two numbers in your full pair? 20 and 80. That is your full pair. Okay, it's your complete set. What's your half pair? 44 and X, right? That's your half pair. So do you see that? Full pair, half pair. Does that make sense? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to plug those numbers in. So we're going to write the full pair and we're going to write the half pair. So the full pair, you do side over angle. Half pair, side over angle. Okay? So the way we write this, so the full pair, we're going to go side over angle. So this is the full. Okay? So the full side over its matching angle. So that's the match. That's the full set. Equals, now you're going to do the half. Side over angle. So full pair, half pair. Does that make sense? Full pair, half pair. Okay, so side, corner, side, corner. Yes? So full pair, half pair. Good? All we have to do now is cross multiply and divide. So on your calculator, you're going to cross multiply and then divide. So we're going to multiply, divide. So that is very similar to SOHCAHTOA. Cross multiply, then divide. So full equals half, always. Side angle, side angle, side angle, side angle. So 20 sine 44. Okay, so 20 times sine 44, finish off the bracket, divided by sine 80, bracket. So cross multiply, then divide. And there it is, 14.1. That's your answer. So notice, nowhere did I need to worry about opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. All I had to do was full and half. Okay? Okay, let's take a look at this picture. Which one is your full? What two numbers make up your full? Right. So there is your full. Now the question says find TV. So TV is this. Okay. So you have to have a full set and you have to have a half set. So right here, is that a half set right now? No. Okay. But you have two corners of the triangle. How can we find the third? Go back to grade 8. How can we find that corner? 180 minus 58.3 minus 80, right? Because the corners have to add up to 180 degrees. So that corner is 41.7. Okay. Now do I have a half set? So you have a full set, you have a half set. Yes? Okay. So start with your full. So for your full, you're going to go side, over, angle. For your half, you go side, over, angle. Does that make sense? Full set, half set. So full set, half set. So at this point, we're going to cross multiply and divide. So cross multiply, divide. So 8.9 times sine 41.7. So 8.9 times sine 41.7. Finish the bracket. So there's your cross multiply. Sine 58.3. So cross multiply, then do the divide. What would you round that to? If I said one decimal place, what would that be? 7. Yep, 7.0. 7. Okay, before we go any further, okay, I just want to pay attention to the check. So bigger angle, so this angle is 80, this side is 20. This side's 44, this angle is 44. So this corner, corner E, is smaller than corner F. So that means this side has to be smaller than 20, right? The bigger the corner, the bigger the side. The smaller the corner, the smaller the side. Did we end up with a number smaller than 20? Yes. Here, 8.9 went with 58.3. 7 goes with 41.7. So the bigger the corner, the bigger the side. The smaller the corner, the smaller the side. Okay? So again, opposite adjacent hypotenuse does not matter. We don't have to worry about that at all. All you have to look at is full sets and half sets. That's it. Okay. Questions on that? So a full set and a half set. Okay. So this time we're going to look for a corner. So this stands for the measure of angle N, or in other words, this is what I'm looking for right here. So I'll just use theta. Okay, so I'm looking for corner N. Okay, doesn't matter if you're looking for a corner or a side. Okay. Oh, actually, this is a nasty question. We're actually not going to do this one. That's not a good one. We're going to go to this guy. Okay. So we're looking for the corner of angle B. So I'm going to make that my corner there. Okay. So first things first, find your full set. What two numbers create your full set? 8 and 85. That's your full. Okay. What two numbers create your half set? Theta and 7. That's your half. Okay. So full set, half set. So when you're doing your formula, you do full set, half set. So your full set is 8 and 85. So 8 over sine 85. Your half set is 7 and sine theta. Or you could put the letter B, I could care less. Okay, so full set, half set. Every single time. Questions on that? By the way, that's what we're calling setup. So that's what we want to see on your page. Yep. Yes, because it's called sine law. Yeah, that's the formula. Okay, so those of you who couldn't hear, she asked, is it always sine? Yes, it's called sine law. Okay, so we always put the letters with the word sine down. Cosine law, which you'll learn about next year, cosine law, you always write down the word cos and the formula changes. There is no tan law. There's just a sine law and a cosine law because those two will find everything for us together. Okay, so this one, the diagonal is going to change a little bit. So remember, just like we did in SOHCAHTOA, the diagonal is the one that doesn't have the x. So here's your x. So this is the diagonal that we use. Okay, so that is what we're going to multiply. And then this is what we divide. So on your calculator, you're going to go sine 85 times 7 divide by 8. Okay, so cross multiply, then divide. Now, something weird is going to happen, and I need you to trust the process. So, sine 85, bracket, times 7, divide by 8. Okay. That is not the measure of the angle. We still have to find the angle. Do you see right here, you have the word sine? Whoops. Right here, you still have the word sine. Okay. In SOHCAHTOA, when you were looking for an angle, you had to go second sine, second cos, or second tan, right? That's what we practiced yesterday. We haven't hit second yet. So once you do this step right here, then you have to go second sine ANS. So hit second, hit sine. Your answer key is right above the negative. So go second negative. What that does is it takes this answer and plunks it into that spot right there. We've used that button a couple times in this course. That's the angle. The angle is 61 degrees. So when you're looking for an angle, you have to do one more step. Okay? So 61 degrees. Okay, let's go back to this guy. I'm going to change the question a little bit. Whoops. I'm going to make that 17. Okay, so let's try this first one again. Okay, so first things first, find your full set. What two numbers are in your full set? 9 and 32. There's your full set. What two numbers are in your half set? Where's your half? Theta and 17. So this question, we don't even need that 12. I just made it up. I accidentally, that 12 probably should have gone where the 17 was. I probably put the number in the wrong spot. So just use 17. It is. Written in the other way, it's actually solvable too, but it's way harder, which I'll save for grade 11. So we're just doing the basics today. It's last day of the semester, okay? Okay, so full and half. Okay, so your full set is 9 and 32. Your half set is 17 and theta. Okay, so the way I originally had the question with the 12 and not the 17, it is doable, but you have to do 2 steps instead of 1. So that's why we're not going to do it. Okay, what you would do is, even though I'm asking for this corner, you'd actually find this one instead. Like you'd find this half set. No, you still use sine law because you'd have a full set and a half set, assuming I keep the 12 there. Okay, and then if you find 2 corners, how can you find the third? Just 180 minus, right? So it's just an extra step. Okay, but we'll deal with that later. That's a grade 11 problem. That's a future us problem. Okay, which way does your diagonal run? Right, so here's your x, so don't include that. This is your diagonal. So you're going to multiply this, and then you're going to divide that. So we're going to go sine 32 times 17. So sine 32 times 17, then divide by 9. Whoop. Oh, that's the problem. Okay, hold on. It doesn't work. Hold on. There we go. Okay, we need to change it to 15. I apologize. I made that number up off the top of my head. Make it 15, please. So, sine 32 times 15, divide by 9. Now, the angle does not measure 0.8. When we're looking for angles, at some point in the process, you have to go second. So because it's sine law, we go second sine, and then second ANS. 62 degrees. Okay. Okay, let's bring this whole thing together and do one more, and then we are done. Okay, from grade 10, we saw this year. So I'm combining something we did in grade 10 now with something from grade 11. What does it mean to solve a triangle? Find everything, right? So how many things are there on a triangle to find in total? How many things are there? 6, right? 3 corners, 3 sides. You will always be given 3, and you will always have to find 3, okay? So we have 3 things to find. So I need to find this corner, I need to find this side, and I need to find that side. It's not to scale at all. Like, not at all. Uh, that's true. So let's make this 44 degrees. I'm having an off day today. So we do not have to use sine law for everything. So to find theta, we know 2 corners. We can find the third quite easily. I think you get out 80 degrees. Okay, so that's 1 mark. Okay, that's grade 8. You don't need to use grade 11 stuff for everything. So we know this is now 80. Now, we cannot use SOHCAHTOA here because one of the corners is not 90. So that's why we're using sine law. Now, do you have a full set? Yes. So your full set is right there. There's your full. Okay, do you want to find x first or do you want to find y? Y, okay. So then y, that is your half set. Okay, so full set, half set. So full set, 18 over sine 80. Half set, y over sine 56. Okay, full set, half set. So if you cross multiply, okay, which way does the diagonal run this time? Right, so this is what I'm looking for. So this is the diagonal that I multiply on. So I'm going to multiply this, divide by that. Cross multiply and divide. So 18 times sine 56, finish off the bracket, divide by sine 80. Get out 15.2. Okay, you're not allowed to use Pythagoras. You can only use Pythagoras on 90-degree triangles. So like I said at the start of this, you cannot use Pythagoras, you cannot use SOHCAHTOA. So what we have to do now is we have to do the same thing again, but make this our half. So our next half is this one. So we have the same full, 18 and 80, and then x and 44 is the half. So we've got the same full, 18 and 80, and then our half is x and 44. So cross multiply, and then divide. So 18 times sine 44 divided by sine 80. 12.7. What, sorry? Okay. So that's where we're going to stop. Okay. So the other rule that happens in grade 11 is something called cosine law. Cosine law only works with half pairs. So in other words, you have 3 halves. So you have a corner but no side, a side but no corner. Now the cosine law looks completely different to this thing. It's not proportions, it's not cross multiply and divide, it looks completely different. And so as long as you understand, oh, I have a full set here, that means use sine law. Oh, I don't have a full set, then you're going to use the other rule. That's trig in grade 11. That's it. Like it doesn't get really more complicated than that. You don't have angles of elevation and depression. You don't have to worry about Pythagoras or SOHCAHTOA. You don't have to deal with opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. You don't have to deal with any of that. It's just two formulas. If you have a full set, you use this one. If you don't have full sets, you use the other one. That's it. That's the unit. Like it's super straightforward. Okay. So here is the final exam. We just worked through sine law. Now, couple of things. I took this down from being 9 marks to actually being only 4. What happened to the other 5 marks? The other 5 marks are your bonus. So I put the bonus in this spot right here because it is grade 11 content. So if you can do grade 11 content in grade 10, I'm going to make that a bonus. I'll tell you exactly what the bonus question is. It's that. I'm going to give you a triangle that you have to solve. So the other 4 marks, so these other 4 marks, you're going to have to find one angle. So it's finding one angle and finding one side. Those are the other marks. So super short, okay? This is not meant to be a make or break section of your final, okay? So can you, and again, I give you the formula. So it's just full set, half set. So find me a full, find me a half, and then the bonus question is that. Straightforward enough. Okay. So that is it. That is your final exam. So in your homework booklet, so just to remind you again, kind of what we've been doing here. So the last page, I take that back. There's 2 pages at the very end of your homework booklet. You need to rip those off. Those are conversions. I accidentally put these pages on here. These should have been on your final part B review. Like I got my book list confused. It's that simple. There's no conversions on this final exam. So you can take those last 2 pages of your homework booklet and tear them off. Okay? So now the last page of your booklet is this sine law. Okay? So I've put the sine law at the top. So there's questions on here finding side lengths. There's questions on here finding angles, and there's questions on here for solve. The answers for the sine law are at the bottom of the worksheet. So you do not have to go onto the Google Classroom for the answers for the sine law. The answers are all right here at the bottom. Okay? So as long as you understand how to find a side and how to find a corner, you can do the 2 sine law questions on the exam. So this is what we've been working towards. This is all the sections of the booklet. So just to put this on here, if I just use blue pen, so multiplying is section A, factoring is section B, and again, this is in your homework booklet. Domain and range is C, X and Y intercepts are D and E. Solving by graphing is F. Solving by factoring is G. Simplifying is H. Operations is I and J. So that's the add, subtract, and multiply. K is your basic solving. L is solving graphically. M is substitution. N and O and P are basic trig. And then sine law is the last sheet. I didn't put it as the letter Q. I don't know why. Oh, I did. I called it Q. I did do that. So there you go. That is your final. It's a mini version of exactly what you have here. Okay? So your factoring has 15 questions in this booklet. On here, you're going to have like 5. Okay, it's just a much, much smaller version of what we've got going on. So for the remaining time today, you've got an hour. You've got 90 minutes tomorrow, and you've got the 40, 50-minute class on Friday. It is your time now. If you want to use it to practice each individual question, great. If you want to use the time to do a version 2 because you've had a chance to go back and relearn, great. But it is your choice. If you've got that social studies essay that's due today and you're only on the introductory paragraph, then you sit here and you work on that. Whatever. Okay? But you are doing something productive for today and tomorrow, and then whatever happens on Friday. Your final exam is a week today. It's next Wednesday. Unless you've made a pre-arrangement with me to come in Monday or Tuesday because you've got some conflicts on your schedule, Wednesday is where you're at. You guys are going to go to Shimbo's room, okay? And I'll be going back and forth supervising the 2 exams. Questions? So because it's your final, the only thing you can ask me questions on is your calculator. I will not be answering any questions on the content. So if you can't remember how to button push in trig, you can't ask. Okay? The only thing I will answer is, hey, my calculator keeps giving me an error, or hey, whenever I hit graph, I get this happening. That's all I can help you on. I cannot help you on any single content. Clear? Okay, so that's what you're working on. That is where we're at.